Hello and welcome. I'm Exolite, and this is my podcast. Today, my guest host is Jory. Say hello, Jory.
Hello, Jory.
For the record, Jory is intoxicated.
No, no. I was telling my mother before we started this that in celebration of today's topic, I felt like I needed to brew up an alcoholic beverage because I'm feeling a little bewitched. So I might be a little loosey goosey for today's topic. A little bit. Nothing crazy. I'll be okay. I'm not gonna pull a Papa John's on you guys.
Oh, did you see that today he said he regretted that he agreed to stepping down?
Yeah, he was like, "You bullied me into resigning."
He should take a couple of drinks. He needs a couple.
When you make your company look so bad that even Little Caesars is like, "Oh yeah, people like our pizza again. At least we're not racist."
Okay, anyway, that was way off topic before we even started.
Hey, we gotta.
All right.
We gotta have a good chill vibe going on.
Yeah, we do. I wish I had something to drink first.
Go get it. I'll keep the people entertained. What do you guys want to talk about? Poker, the world, animals, jungles.
Animals.
We got
necrophilia.
Necrophilia. I know a bunch of stuff, especially about necrophilia.
Oh my god, I can see how today's gonna go. Okay, before we jump into this, our topic is witches today. And we're going to talk about the history of witches, different kinds of witches, everything you ever wanted to know about witches. And as our guest witch, we're going to have Maya come on. Oh, sorry about that, Maya.
She was brewing a I'm a grumpy moderator potion last night.
Yeah, she was. She was salty.
She was salty like a sea captain. Arr,
she was.
I'm starving. Arr.
I gotta get out of here.
I gotta leave this production meeting. You're terrorizing me. Arr. Like, how is your voice deeper than mine, moderator Maya? Wow.
Anyway, so first I'm going to do this. First, I'm going to thank I have Patreon subscribers, you guys. Patreon supporters. I know. Isn't that awesome? So I'm going to thank Patreon supporters. And I want to say that if you too want to be a Patreon supporter, moderator Maya, if she's not feeling salty, will put that link up to Patreon. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the money to buy merchandise so that we can do giveaways for merchandise and sell merchandise. And our producer Jeremy has already come up with our first design for a t-shirt, and it's awesome if I do say so myself. And that's where that money will be going, so that we can get off the ground and do that for you guys.
And if I might interject one thing.
Yes.
You're obviously, donate as you want to. It's not a donate or you'll never get any material from me. But I would suggest donating higher amounts of money so I can have a salary doing this job. Just throwing that out there.
I thought we all agreed that we loved doing this for free.
Oh, did we? Oh,
yeah.
But I really like money too.
Yeah, donate so that Jory can have a salary.
If you're thinking you want to donate $5 to Exolite, boost it to 10.
But I'm
You
not
know.
even getting the money. I'm using it for merchandise.
Well, okay, which you'll make money off of, and Rob and I can make money as a salaried guest host. I'm just saying. I've got dreams that I want to live.
You want to retire early.
I want to retire and live out my life on a golf course or an RV or
An RV.
sitting outside the Denver airport waiting for the end of the world.
Perfect, because that's where I'm going to be. We'll be
No,
neighbors.
I think they have a name for where you'll be. Lunatic Asylum? Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum? I hear it's abandoned, but you'll fit in with the non-living residents.
Would somebody please take his beer away?
Sorry.
Anyway, so, of course, Rob was my very first Patreon. And we love Robin, so thank you, Rob. That was very nice.
Rob's paying his own salary? Golly. What a generous guy.
And I'm gonna thank Todd Flipson for being my newest Patreon subscriber, and I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate it. And yes, and I really, really do appreciate it. I can't begin to tell you. It's so nice to see the appreciation. And when we start taking call-ins, Todd's going to be able to call in, and he's going to be able to ask questions about the topic we're talking about. Or, honestly, guys, if you're paying money, we'll talk about anything you want. So, for 10 minutes, I'll be your psychiatrist.
Including necrophilia.
Well, yeah. Duh.
I thought that
was a
given. That's actually a part of the package. Like, you get one question, no, that's normal, and then you get a necrophilia question. And based off our experience, we will answer that for you.
Well, I don't have any, but Jory is the resident expert, so.
Well, yeah, you don't live as long as I've lived and not have experience in most things,
20s are for experimenting.
Hey, you got that right. None of them complained either, so.
Oh, my God. That's so gross. I can't. Don't. That's so gross.
Welcome to Exit Light Podcast, everybody.
Oh, my God. Hi, Mad Meerkat. How are you? Mad Meerkat sent me gifts. If you guys want to send me gifts, I'm open to that, too. Because we're very nice. Very, very nice. I appreciated that.
What gifts did you get?
You didn't hear last week's podcast?
No, I was working. Remember, I was training for my new position.
Oh, that's right. I got a meerkat from him because he's, Mad Meerkat. And can I just say, I love meerkats. I love meerkats. I used to watch the TV show about meerkats.
Was it foaming at the mouth when you got it?
No, it wasn't. It was
because it was from Mad Meerkat. Huh?
He wasn't.
Rabies?
He was super adorable. And then I got a book written by Professor Keith Simpson, and it is 40 Years of Murder.
Ooh.
So I'm taking notes on that.
Awesome.
And he's a former police officer, and he gave me a badge from his police department that dates back before 1967. And it's really, really neat. That's really, really neat. Yeah.
Nice.
So it was lovely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we thank him too.
Mm-hmm.
I am lost right now. Oh, okay. So we haven't even got into the podcast. This is crazy. I will not have a podcast next week, but Rob is going to. I'm going to be uploading something for Rob, and he's going to talk about UFO experiences. And the reason we're not having a podcast next week is because producer Jeremy is going to be doing the first segment of our 9/11 podcast series. Sergey is fine. He's been up to no good. He's chasing the dogs around, but they'll get used to him. So he's doing fine. Sergey, by the way, is my mad meerkat. Jeremy, can I send you a picture of this meerkat so you can put him on? Is it possible? Okay. Should I send it to Maya's phone or what? Oh my God, you're gonna make me jump through a bunch of hoops. Can everybody hear you talking or just me? Oh no, so they think I'm crazy.
Well, they already knew that.
Okay, I'm gonna send a picture of Sergey and the rest of the items so that Jeremy can put it up. And do you think I should give him like a little peek at the t-shirts where you've been designing, Jeremy?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Keep it hidden.
Nope. Hidden.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, you guys. Dead air. Jory, keep him company. Start talking.
Okay. Well, in World War II, Hitler thought that
Okay.
I don't know. What do you want me to talk about? How tasty this alcoholic beverage is?
Yeah, do that. Okay, so here, I got it, Jeremy. There we go. You got it. Okay, so, and then I'm going to have the next section, and what we've done with these 5-week podcasts is we're dividing it into timelines so that it's easier to talk about the information, not so overwhelming. And Jeremy's doing the first section, which is going to be pre 9/11, like the lead up. I'm going to be doing the towers, and Rob's going to be doing the Pentagon, and Jory's going to be doing the plane in Pennsylvania. And then we're going to have a 5th week where we all get together and we talk about all the information at one time. And, if you guys want to become Patreons and save your phone call for that day, that's totally fine. And you can take part in the conversation, or you can call in during any segment and be like, I read this, or I know this, or whatever. Okay. So that's coming up. And is that all I was going to say about that? Probably. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about witches. Are you ready, Jor?
I am ready to go.
Okay, so I am going to run down the history of witches. So it's going to take some time, Jory, if you don't mind, sharing the attention.
You mean it's nap time?
You are in a mood today.
My bad.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the origin of witches. Early witches were people who practiced witchcraft. They used magic spells and called upon spirits for help or to bring about change. Most witches were thought to be pagans. Okay, hold on a second. This says most people were thought to be pagans doing the devil's work, which I have to say that's not correct. I think by most people they meant Christians at the time. Said that. Pagans and Druids certainly did not believe that. Many were natural healers or so-called wise women. I'd have to say for the most part, most, if not all of them, were considered that. Whose choice of profession was misunderstood. It's unclear exactly when witches became on the historical scene, but one of the earliest records of a witch is in the Bible, in the book of 1 Samuel, thought to be written between 931 BC and 721 BC. Isn't that weird? Because time goes backwards. That's weird. It tells a story of when King Saul sought the witch of Endor to summon the dead prophet Samuel's spirit to help him defeat the Philistine army. The witch roused Samuel, who then prophesied the death of Saul and his sons. The next day, according to the Bible, Saul's sons died in battle, and Saul committed suicide. Older Testament verses condemn witches, such as the oft-cited Exodus 22:18, which says, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." Additional biblical passages caution against, how is it pronounced? Divination? Divination? It's divination, right? Divining. Chanting or using witches to contact the dead.
Divination.
So can I just... Divination, yeah. So can I just say, wait, do you have ice in your beer, Jory?
See?
Oh, okay. This just said that the Bible, the witch in the Bible, raised Samuel from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
So, zombies.
There was a zombie before Jesus?
Hey! Take it
What?
down a notch.
Okay, my bad.
Okay, so then there was this book written, and it's called Malleus Maleficarum. And this is when the witch hysteria took hold of Europe, which was during the mid-1400s. That is so hard to grasp my brain around. The mid-1400s, when many accused witches confessed, often under torture, to a variety of wicked behaviors. Within a century, witch hunts were common, and most of the accused were executed by burning at the stake or hanging. Between 1500 and 1660, up to 80,000 suspected witches were put to death in Europe. Around 80% of them were women, thought to be in cahoots with the devil and filled with lust. You know, that says something about women in history. Filled with lust was something to be put to death for. Men, on the other hand, they walked around through fairy tales raping people, and that was fine. Now, this is something interesting. Germany had the highest witchcraft execution rate, while Ireland had the lowest, which is really interesting to me because they had the Druids and the Celtic religions and often thought of as witchcraft. So Germany had the highest witchcraft execution rate. Germany, what is going on over there, man? I never even heard about Germany involved in any of the witchcraft things. Did you?
Yeah, it's actually pretty well known because Germany back then was mostly I don't want to say this wrong, but it was mostly like broken up in like tribes and city states and stuff. So it wasn't what we know of it as today. So it was very superstitious and backwoodsy and witches.
Really?
Witches and actually a lot of our fairy tales come from Germany. The Grimm brothers were German. So
Well, yes, that's what we talked about last week on our podcast.
Right. So, you know, it makes sense that Germany would kind of be the epicenter of witch burning and witch hunts.
Well, I guess, yeah. Did you know that that the brothers Grimm, they didn't write the fairy tales. They collected them.
Mm-hmm.
from as far back as pre-Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
That were passed down by word of mouth.
Right.
I just think that I always thought they did make changes to some of them that were too horrible. Although, I mean, there must have been some that were like incredibly horrible, because the ones that passed as fine were still horrible. So anyway, the publication of Malleus Maleficarum, which I love that. It sounds like a spell, doesn't it? Written by two well-respected German Dominicans in 1486, likely spurred witch mania to go viral. Oh my gosh, go viral. The book, known as Hammer of Witches, was essentially a guide on how to identify, hunt, and interrogate witches. Malleus Maleficarum labeled witchcraft as heresy and quickly became the authority for Protestants and Catholics trying to flush out witches living among them. For more than 100 years, the book sold more copies than any other book in European history except for the Bible. That is crazy. And some of the ways that they identified a witch were like twins. If some people are born with like an extra little finger, that's a sign of a witch. For those of you who have 3 nipples, you're out of here. Some things that are like not common, but are fairly common. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like every other person has a 3rd nipple these days for some reason.
Have you checked that?
Well, what do you think I do all day?
Well, I wish I
go
had
to
the kind of
Walmart.
time you have.
I go to Walmart and I ask.
Just lift up people's shirts and look for a 3rd nipple.
No, I ask first. I'm not in a fairy tale. I'm not going to force myself on them.
Okay.
I just, take a questionnaire. Duh. And a lot of the people at Walmart have 3rd nipples. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so we're going to talk about Druids, because that's where a lot of the witch mysticism comes from, okay? In ancient Druid times, and I have to say that I was really, learning about Druids was really interesting to me, because it's not really something that's on my radar to know a lot about, but it was pretty neat. So in ancient times, a Druid was a philosopher, a teacher, a counselor, a magician. They were concerned with the natural world and its powers. Trees to the Druids were considered sacred, especially the oak. The origin of the word Druid comes from, and the way they pronounce things and write things in like Irish and stuff is hard to read as a American, but I think it's dwar comes from dwar, an Irish Gaelic word for oak tree. This also means wisdom. The Druids were a priestly caste existing among the Celtic people. The Celts were a tribal people living in Gaul, Britain, Ireland, and other parts of Europe, Asia Minor, and the Balkans. The Celtic people adopted Druidism as their religion. Within this religion, there were priests and priestesses. Remnants of Druidism still presently exist. Druidism was passed on orally. There are no written records, which is pretty amazing, really. That's some dedication. Druidism dates back to thousands of years before Christ, and it's a shamanic religion. Shamans.
Shamanic.
Yeah, religion, embracing both the spirit world and holistic medicines. And it's really weird because when we're talking about Druids and stuff and the things they practice and like herbal remedies and stuff, these are things that I just do. I don't consider myself a witch or a Druid or a Wiccan or anything like that. But it's interesting that that's where the history of those types of medicine actually comes from. Trees, plants, and flowers were very important to the Druids. The Druids are, I guess, peaceful people with a love of nature. They practice magic and take an apprentice to whom they pass their valuable knowledge. Within their colleges, they had colleges. Think about this. Colleges, thousands of years before Christ. They taught magic, philosophy, astronomy, astrology, geometry, music, science, and mathematics. Julius Caesar conquered Britain in 55 BC, I think it was. And he wrote in his writings that the Druids would have these lively conversations about how big the universe is, what the stars meant, how close to us the stars were. They did a lot. They knew a lot about astronomy. And they would have debates over mathematics. And I don't know. I just find that so fascinating to me. And I don't know. I just think that and science and, geometry. And I just think that is so fascinating. If I had been one of the first people on Earth, we wouldn't have a wheel today. We'd still be afraid of fire. So I'm just like, this is incredible. That's how advanced they were. Anybody got a comment, Jory?
Well, I was just going to say, my old friend Chris, he considered himself a New Age Druid, and he practiced a lot of what you're talking about. So it's not just, it's not just like, you've given us a history lesson. It's a real thing. People still do this to this day.
Yeah, they said that they still exist.
Yeah.
What did he practice?
He considered himself a druid, so he was into science, he was into math, he was into astrology.
And practiced it the way druids did throughout history? Right.
I couldn't tell you the magic part of it, because it's not like I was with him 24/7, but yeah, he believed in the lifestyle. He was in it. So
that's really strange, because I knew Chris really well.
Yeah.
He didn't tell me any of this.
Well, I think the other information about him was probably enough at the time.
Right. Hey, I was very open. Anyway, I always have been. But anyway, the Druids worshipped the moon, the sun, and the stars. They looked to them for signs. The oak tree was especially significant. Hills, lakes, streams, and plants were also important. Mistletoe and holly were especially important. And here, people, is when we need to understand something.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where we're getting to where Druidism, I suppose that's what it's called, right? And sure. Christianity came to a head. So they also had Yule logs, and they worshipped trees, and the calendar year followed the lunar and solar cycles. Their main holidays were Imbolc, the first sign of spring, Easter.
Mm-hmm.
That became our Easter, spring solstice. The mistletoe and holly, those traditions and the Yule log and the tree turned into our Christmas, Christianity's Christmas. They celebrated Beltane, which was the fullness of life after spring. Lugnaslodge, celebrating the ripening of the first fruits, and the deity Lugh, and Samhain, which became Halloween. Recognized at the end of the harvest and the thinning of the veil between the world of the dead and the living, which is also something that the Mexican culture celebrates as Dia de los Muertos.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been a long, long history, especially Samhain. Even the Hispanics, lots of cultures celebrate that day.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, most people in America know that. Well, they might not even know that when they see sugar skulls and those types of things. Those are Dia de los Muertos, and that is specifically to celebrate the thinning of the veil between the dead and the living. They celebrate the dead, and gifts were left for the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is why we trick or treat. So,
didn't they also carve into, I think it was turnips, faces to ward off evil spirits, which eventually became the tradition of pumpkin carving?
Yes, I did a video. Hello, and it was about the Christian and pagan connections to Halloween. I did it last Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And they would carve turnips, these really large turnips, though, not like the kind of turnips we see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we got the carving of the pumpkins. You warded off the bad spirits.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to be afraid of these. And they would also wear costumes so that if the dead spirits came back, they wouldn't be recognized. So they would wear masks and costumes.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't realize that what happened at the time was that Christianity was becoming a popular religion, and Druidism was the religion, and in this area. And I'm going to boil it down here to basics. Christians didn't have holidays; they didn't have the festivals, and they quite literally took the festivals from the Druid religions, turned them into Christian religions, and we still celebrate them today. All of our holidays are based in pagan Druid history. All of them. The, Easter, the spring solstice, and, Halloween and Christmas is based in pagan and Druid traditions. And I think most of us in the modern age know now that Christ was not born on the 25th of December, but we celebrate it then for winter solstice, and we put the holly and the mistletoe and the trees and the Yule log. To this day, we sing Christmas songs about Yule logs. Mm-hmm. And that was all from Christians wanting to have something like, hey, they have it's like, come to the dark side, we have cookies. It was like, hey, they have parties and things, and people like that. We should do that too.
Mm-hmm.
The Druids were intellectuals. They took great pride in learning and teaching. They were very powerful and well-respected people. In fact, the Druids would come between different armies to prevent warfare, and they did not have to serve in battle or pay taxes. They were that well-respected. People who broke the sacred laws of Druidism, though, were banished from religion, and Druid women were allowed to, if they chose to, take part in a war if they wanted to. They also had the right to divorce their husbands if they were unhappy in a religion, and Druid women were given powerful positions in the Druid religion, which was another thing. Now, I'm going to say, okay, I'm a Christian, but I'm also a realist. That was something else that in the Christian religion was not particularly enjoyed. Women were not equal to men, and they were not allowed to. To this day, Christianity doesn't really want female pastors. You're not supposed to have female pastors. Some churches have evolved and allowed that to happen, obviously, but but there's a huge church here in Texas. I'm not going to name it, but it's huge, and a lot of people belong to this church. And a woman can't stand up and pray in front of the congregation. And it's a Christian church. It's huge. You would know it if I said it. And if you know it, you probably know which church I'm talking about. They can't stand up and pray because men are not supposed to be led by women. So here you have this religion that not only lets women have a say in their own relationship, but they're allowed into battle and they're allowed to be leaders. So this is what happened to Druidism and how it became twisted and changed by the Christian religion into them being witches. So part 2 of Druidism. After the downfall of traditional Druidism, the myth of the witch became even more popular. The myth of witch cults had existed during the time of Celtic paganism, but its source lied more with the pagan rituals and traditions of sorcery. After Christianity became the main religion on the British Isles, witches became synonymous with the work of the devil. Ellis, a Celtic scholar, believes that female druids have become reduced in old Celtic stories to witch-like figures since the onset of Christianity. Archaeological evidence that female magicians or witches existed in the outskirts of pagan Celtic religions are strong. The Larzac stone, which dates back to 100 AD, shows the existence of rival bands of witches, while graves excavated in a Romanian British cemetery shows that the treatment of these women was very different from that of female druids. Before being placed in their graves, they would have their heads cut off, and their heads would be placed between their legs. Sometimes they would have their jaws removed so that they couldn't cast a spell on someone who was currently alive. They thought that having their heads separated from their body would separate their soul from their body, so that their soul would die right then. With the spread of Christianity, Christians dubbed female druids as witches in order to make their power seem evil, such as the witches of ancient times and the native Celtic people. Christians feared the druids and druidesses not only because they were a source of great religious power and the center of knowledge for their people, but also many of them preached strongly against conversion to Christianity. Consequently, the Christians began to write down information which put druids and druidesses in a bad light and helped perpetuate their ultimate downfall. In medieval times, Christians altered stories to make the druidess heroine an evil witch. In this manner, the Christians effectively began to sway the opinion of the clergy and the people that knowledgeable women in the Druid order itself were of the devil. So we see Christianity come in and eventually just take out Druidism. Like you said, it still exists today, but it was like something that people began having to hide. And then women were brought back under control. So Wicca. Wicca is practiced today, but the thing about Wicca, and it's also sometimes called pagans, they sometimes call themselves pagans, is that there is no real requirements to call yourself a Wiccan or a pagan for that matter. Anybody can call themselves, say that they're practicing Wicca, and they usually practice old druid witchcraft, not witchcraft, but like spells. They use herbal things for remedies. They believe in a goddess. They believe in Mother Earth, and those are usually the common denominators of anybody who claims that they are Wiccan. So, and they, no Wiccans profess to use black or dark magic. They're all about earthy motherhood. And like I said, anybody can claim that they're a Wiccan. They just don't have a strict guidelines. That's what I'm saying. But they do have those few things usually in common with each other. And that, of course, not of course, but they generally don't believe in like a Christian God, Jesus, that type of thing. They believe in a goddess. So they do have a deity usually, but they don't have to. You don't have to believe in any deity to be Wiccan. So if somebody tells you that they're Wiccan, it doesn't mean that the next person that tells you that they're Wiccan, that they have anything in common. So it's and so I think it's very misunderstood too. And this is going to be I know a lot of women who claim to be Wiccans and practice or pagans, and you wouldn't know them if you saw them if you passed them in the street. And a lot of women who are Wiccans kind of claim to be more what they call a kitchen witch. And these are modern day versions, by the way, of the passed down Druid and Celtic traditions. So a kitchen witch is somebody who, in their own home, tries to have a ceremonial kind of a environment where, like, they enchant the herbs before they put them in a meal, or they make herbal oils and tonics and use them to heal someone with, or their family members with, or to clean with. They when they make tea, it's never just making a cup of tea. They consider the process of making tea like a magical sort of a thing, so that it's healing inside their body. If someone gets hurt, like I said, they are going to use something like mugwort or a salve made out of herbs and honey. Honey, by the way, is a natural antibiotic. Whatever. And it's just it's sort of like you would look normal. I'm sorry that I just said that. Outside people would look at that and say they're kind of hippie. That's kind of a hippie-ish thing to do. And that's kind of how it is. That's kind of how you see them. They're not on a broom. They're not gonna curse you. And that's more like the average modern day quote unquote witch. Now, that's in the United States. There are other religions who do practice something quite different. And even in the United States, there are people who practice something quite different, but that is a fringe element. And I think we're going to talk about that too, right, Jory?
Yes, we are.
So, like, kitchen witches will throw a pinch of salt over their shoulder. That is a long-standing Druid tradition. And I know lots of people who do that. Or if an eyelash falls out, you blow on it and make a wish. My own kids do that. I didn't even realize that some of these things were. I guess you just don't go, I wonder where that came from. You know what I mean? Anyway, yeah. They put like dried rosemary under a pillow to ward off bad dreams, and which I might have to start doing that. You too, Jeremy. Put some rosemary under your pillow. Anyway, so that is sort of the way it Druidism and witchcraft has evolved over the centuries. And there you go. There's your history on, well, everything from necrophilia to Halloween, and all the stuff in between. So, I have a list of famous witches that I'll get to later, but that's historically famous, not like somebody. Well, you'll see. And I know Jory is going to do a whole bunch of stuff now. I'm sorry I took up all this time, Jory. You have to say though, it wasn't nearly as long as my whole thing about the Denver airport, which nobody out there even got the benefit of being able to listen to later, which really sucks because you guys, Denver airport is crazy. Af.
Because producer Jeremy was paid by the government to lose that footage.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what happened. That's why he's driving around that new Maserati.
Hey,
he's the only one that gets paid.
I want one too, government. Help me out.
Okay. So, what are you going to talk about, witches, Jory?
So, witchcraft isn't just limited to its European roots or what it created in America. Witchcraft is all around the world in various forms. So, I've done a little research. I've kind of narrowed it down to a few items here. But you can really go anywhere on the internet and find the same stuff that I'm going to talk to you about right now. So we are going to start in South Africa. And South Africa has witch doctors. The witch doctor may be one of the most... I'm too drunk to read that word. But we'll simplify it. The witch doctor may be one of the most normal depictions of a witch placing behind wicked witches and those in Harry Potter. But the fantastical moniker should not diminish the very real influence these figures have in South African culture. Native to the Zulu people, witch doctors are seen as healers who are divided into two different categories: Inyanga and Isangoma. I hope I'm saying those right. While Inyanga are not dissimilar to modern-day herbalists and practitioners of natural medicine, the Isangoma are called to their profession by divine powers and perform tasks like predicting the future and using their psychic abilities to protect against evil spirits. Isangoma verge on being religious leaders in their communities, using trance and musical rituals to communicate with ancestors. Both Inyanga and Isangoma are viewed with respect in their culture and must undergo years of training. They are often consulted for a variety of problems, from health to spiritual. So it's funny to read that after you just kind of gave a brief history of like European witchcraft, and then you read about South African witchcraft, and these people are held to high esteem, and they're sought after for little things like herbalist medicine to communication with the dead, and they're not condemned for it; they're respected for it.
Right.
So, this part isn't specifically about a witch, but it's another part of Africa of how they treated people who they believed were witches. So, in Ghana, they have what's called witch camps. While witch hunts largely ended in Europe in the 18th century, in some parts of the world, women continue to be banished as they are suspected of having supernatural powers. Recently, however, Ghana took a step forward to abolish this practice. In the West African country, nearly 1,000 women and 500 children are currently, as in right now, in the process of being released from 6 witch camps in the country's northern region.
What? How many?
1,000 women and 500 children.
You gotta be kidding me.
all of them suspected of witchcraft, and they were thrown into pretty much just picture it as concentration camps or what was it that we had for the Japanese in America? The they weren't concentration
internment
camps.
camp.
Internment camps. Thank you. Just picture that, but you're in there because somebody thought you were a witch.
That's so crazy. And I don't know if it's the same in those circumstances, but here, like in Salem, a lot of the women who were charged with witchcraft, with being a witch, were midwives. They were the medical people in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting that the common denominator here is people who are medically minded. You know what I mean? And I wonder if it's the same way for those women in those camps, if they were in somehow, some way, the healers in their community.
And it's funny to show sometimes how backwards we as humans can be when somebody who works in those times worked with herbs and plants to create medicines, which were meant to help you, were also considered people who worship Satan.
Right.
It's like the one person who knows how to create a salve
we should kill them
that can heal your wound is the one that's also worshiping Satan, and you have to kill them.
Yeah, I wonder though if that happened when the herbal treatment didn't work, and in someone's grief, they then blamed the person who had helped them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, somehow, if they had any power in the community or could convince enough people that it was in fact this healer that was the cause of their child dying, or they lost their baby or whatever, if maybe that's how that was possible, to think, oh, well, they turned or something, you know what I mean?
Right. That's possible. The witch camps were established nearly 100 years ago to provide a place of refuge for women who were made the scapegoats of tragedies like famine, sickness, and death. Not unlike the women accused of witchcraft in colonial America, these women were discriminated against in societies riddled by mass panic. While the camps provided a safe haven for the women and their children, they also lacked fundamental necessities like electricity and running water. As the camps were closed in December 2014, the women banished to these areas now struggle to become reintegrated into society and reunited with their families after decades of persecution and discrimination.
Wow. That's 2014, you said?
So, yeah,
wow.
They all officially closed in 2014, but they're still in the process of still moving these people out and finding their families. And
here we think about all this witchcraft and stuff as happening centuries ago, and here it is, 2014, and they're closing a witch camp.
Well, it's funny. So while I was doing research for this, I came across an article that talked about countries that still openly practice witchcraft. And these are most of the places we would consider them third world countries. But to this day, they practice the same stuff that their ancestors have practiced for centuries. These people are virtually untouched by modern necessities and technologies.
And why is it called witchcraft? You know what I mean? Like, why isn't it just...
I think it's to generalize it, to kind of put it on, because all of these all have one common denominator, and it's that they practice magic, or that seems to be. So I think it's just, instead of saying, well, this is what this does and this is what this does, I think it's just a grouping together, and we just call that witchcraft. Oh, because they practice magic.
Oh, so they're not just using herbal remedies and stuff. They consider themselves to have otherworldly sort of powers. Oh
yeah. I'll talk about it a little bit more here in a second, but a lot of these people genuinely believe that they have magical powers and they can
We,
influence good or bad decisions.
well, wow. Back in the Druid times, the Druids believed that they could fly, which is strange because how do you believe someone can fly if you've never seen anybody fly? So were they flying? You know what I
Well,
mean? Like
they
you just go, "Oh, I believe you can fly. I've never seen it, but uh,
well, I think I heard you say when you were talking about the Druids about how they worked with hallucinogenics.
oh yeah, oh
So
maybe,
perhaps maybe that's why they thought they could fly is because they were
oh
hallucinating.
oh, Jeremy, this is right up your alley." Um,
way to
not that he
way to
takes
call them out.
hallucinogenics, not that
All right,
he
folks.
takes
So here's a sneak peek into the personal lives of Exit Lake Crew.
not that he takes hallucinogenics, but he's learned a lot about hallucinogenic mushrooms throughout history and the role they played in progressing, evolving humans, and that's why I said this is right up your alley. He likes history, and this is one of those things that he in his head just said, "Oh yeah, mushrooms." Am I right, Jeremy? And nobody heard that but me. Yes, he said, more or less. Anyway, so yeah, you're right. Maybe that's it. Maybe they felt like they were flying.
Hmm. Which would probably give them the feeling of them being able to perform magic rituals as well. If you're on a,
Yes.
and if you really kind of break down some of the ingredients that all of these cultures use in their witchcraft, there's some form of hallucinogenic in it. So the herbs and whatever they're working with is giving them the perception that they have these abilities. And I'm not saying that they don't for anyone of that kind that's listening.
Uh-huh.
But I've never seen somebody perform real magic. I've seen magic tricks. So I'm going to assume that you're probably enjoying a nice tasty mushroom or something like that. And that's what's giving you the belief that you have these powers,
Huh.
which is fine by me. More power to you.
Yeah.
I wish I could take all those mushrooms and feel like a magician. All right. Anyways,
Well, I have an Uncle Mike
uh,
story for that.
so now we're moving to South America,
I
and
don't think he felt like a magician, by the way.
well, I think he spent most of his time, or I should say, his career as a puppet.
Well, he did, yeah. But he took mushrooms one time and spent most of the night trying to hold the ceiling up because he thought it was melting on him.
Oh yeah,
So it went
yeah.
bad.
Well, a druid would think that he was melting the ceiling with his powers.
Nice.
Yeah, man, I totally just melted that ceiling with my mind. With my mind powers.
Nice. That was a good call.
Dude, I totally saw it too. I had to help him hold it up.
No, there was him and two other people who I'm not going to
Yeah.
call out on a live podcast.
Yeah.
But they were all three of them were standing on the couch holding the ceiling up. Yeah, that was an interesting thing to come home to.
All right, so we're heading to Chile. Native to Chile's indigenous Mapuche people, the Calcu is an evil sorceress who exists in opposition to Mapuche spiritual leaders and medicine women, the Machi. While the Machi are the cultural's major healers, the Calcu work with evil spirits to wreak havoc. So here comes the people who believe that they have they have supernatural abilities. The semi-mystical figures use black magic and are even believed to have evil sidekicks, such as Anchi-Mayan, creatures that reanimate the corpses of deceased children. Why does this keep coming up?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we had a topic of discussion prior to this starting, folks, and it, needless to say, involved deceased children. So, yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
Not in a weird way, though.
Of course, not in a weird way. Sorry, I should probably emphasize it wasn't weird.
Oh my gosh.
And the Chankon, a bird with the head of a Kalku. While both Kalku and Machi are traditionally women, the Kalku are seen as more mystical, fantastical creatures, while the Machi perform religious duties. So there's kind of a yin and yang in the Chilean culture when it comes to witchcraft.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's going to be a fun one. We're moving to the Philippines. In the islands of the Philippines, belief in magic is very much alive. Kulam is a form of Filipino witchcraft with practitioners called Mangkukulam. Say that 3 times fast.
Mangkukulam.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have been drinking.
Won, right? You just won another Patreon subscriber.
I hope so.
These sorceresses are believed to perform black magic. Using practices similar to voodoo, the Mangkukulam cast spells and incantations intended to bring harm to others. However, the Mangkukulam, which can either be men or women, aren't only self-serving. They oftentimes sell love potions and services to help patrons exact revenge on those who have wronged them. So make sure you don't get on their bad side. Man, I really pissed off that Mangkukulam.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. All right. So where we're heading now is going to be a big one, because this is going to touch on a form of witchcraft that is very popular in the States.
Yay.
So we're heading to the West Indies. As a folk magic religion hybrid, Obeah flourished in the West Indies during the slave trade, largely as a force of resistance. The dark magic uses spells to make predictions, gain knowledge, or obtain assistance for any task. While Obeah isn't a religion in the sense that there is any sort of established church or ceremonies, female and male practitioners are seen as spiritual guides that can help with any number of problems. The magic, believed to have originated in West Africa, is found across the Caribbean in multiple forms. For example, in Haiti, the practice is known most specifically as voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
Like most forms of witchcraft, this form of magic is believed to have some sinister potential, yet it is also used for personal benefit through purchased charms. So, this is, if you want to follow the history of voodoo, this kind of follows the slave trade routes of slaves being brought from Africa through the Caribbean and into America, where they were combining their West African beliefs with Caribbean beliefs and what was on the mainland America, which at that time, when they were coming into the South, they were coming through bigger ports like New Orleans. So you were getting Spanish and French, which at the time would have mostly been Catholic influence.
Yeah.
And this all combined to become voodoo.
Are you going to talk about Santeria too?
Yeah, I'll have to pull it up here in a sec.
Okay, well I can just comment if you want to, about the connection between voodoo and Santeria.
Okay, that's fine.
Santeria is also an African American religion of Caribbean descent and comes from also the Spanish Empire among the West African descendants. And it is the Spanish word that means worship of saints. That is a very popular Caribbean Afro-American. It's not African American. It's West Indies religion. And Santeria is usually known as more of a dark arts religion, even more so than voodoo. Like some serious dark art stuff. Like they would give you an herb that would make you look like you were dead so that they could bury you alive. And, you could give it to your enemy and the doctor would come and declare your whatever, spouse, neighbor, mother-in-law dead, and they'd be buried alive. So, I mean, if we could get that at Walmart, we wouldn't be in line, but I'm just saying. Anyway, so it's interesting that these two came through the slave trade routes and ended up, I mean, they practice it here, but it's bigger in the Caribbean.
Right. Yeah, the voodoo religion is bigger here just because, and I hate to say it like this, but it kind of feels like it's for the tourism. Because when you think of New Orleans, you think of the Mississippi, you think of the Gulf of Mexico, you think of voodoo, you think of ghosts. Like, it adds a mystique.
Well, yeah, but the old Creole women, they are legit voodoo practitioners, voodoo priestess.
Oh yeah, they're legit. I saw them.
Yeah, they're legit. Not even the people who do the voodoo stores in New Orleans, they practice this, and it is obviously they do make a lot of money off the tourists trade, and I have a story about that when you're done with your voodoo story. But voodoo and the witch version of voodoo for a woman would be called a priestess.
Right.
It's funny because I can say I don't believe in voodoo, but on the other hand, I mean I don't believe in voodoo, but the fact that people do and they do believe in that strongly, then I feel like almost like that I just don't want to mess with it. I just don't want to take it. I just don't want to take the chance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Santeria, I would never mess with that. And so what? Do I believe in it then?
Well, I think there's the very real fear that because voodoo and Santeria touch on magical properties, and we've touched on it on paranormal topics, but it's like an Ouija board. You mess around with something long enough, you can bring something into your life that will impact it in a very negative way unless you really know what you're doing. So, I can't attest to whether or not voodoo is real, but you're right. There are people who that's their lifestyle, much like a Christian wakes up and that's their lifestyle, and they have a very, very strong belief in it. And a person with having enough strong-willed belief in something could bring a lot of energy into a space that can impact you. So, I think it's one of those things that unless you've got years and years and years of training with somebody who knows what they're doing, that might be something you just don't mess with.
Yeah, I agree.
So we got one more on this list here. And we are going to Mexico. We're going to hop that wall right into Mexico.
Okay.
La Santa Muerte. Why can't I can say it in my head. Though she may be considered a saint rather than a witch, Mexico's Santa Muerte, or Saint of Death, is deeply connected to witchcraft.
Santa Muerte.
Muerte, thank you. I can't get the U to come out right.
Muerte.
Thank you. God, don't drink before a podcast. Portrayed as a woman wearing a long skull, donning a long cloak, similar to a female Grim Reaper, she is honored through statues that are believed to hold magical powers. Black sculptures of the saint are used in cursing rituals, while white sculptures are used for cleansing rituals. Some believers even consider her to be an intermediary between God and earth, and others see her statue as an omen of threat or death. So I was watching this episode of I can't think of the name right now. It was a ghost show that was on Sci-Fi, and now it's on like Destination America. But a guy who lived in Mexico had moved into this really, really run-down apartment, and he was experiencing paranormal activity, like really bad paranormal activity. And upon talking to his landlord, he found out that apartment had been previously occupied by members of a drug cartel in Mexico. And I don't know if it's all or just specific sects of these cartels, but they carry around these statues of her because of their wife teetering on the brink of life and death. Like, she is their god. And so they, because of their her influence on their lives, it left a mark on his apartment, and he was experiencing paranormal activity from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right?
Why have I never heard about this? I want to go look up a picture.
With Mexico has a really strong history of witches. I can't think of. I know I can see the word in my head. I can't pronounce it. Brouhaha. Brouhaha. Okay, I didn't want to say it and sound stupid, but they are greatly feared in Mexico, and I know people have heard about that haunted island in Mexico that has all the dolls hanging from the trees and stuff like that. Oh
yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people think that. Well, we know the history of that island. It was just a dude that lived on the island, and he hung up the dolls and blah blah blah. But they associate that island with witchcraft also, and they consider it a very like haunted, don't go over there place. So they're very superstitious when it comes to witchcraft in Mexico, which is why their version of Halloween is extremely popular, because of their deep-rooted belief that you don't. I would say that the Mexican culture is probably like the one that fears the dead the most. Like, do not upset the balance, do not tear the veil, do not upset the ancestors, leave them be. Right. So I can understand why they would have a fear of witchcraft there.
So listen, this is an article that was posted from the Catholic News Agency in 2017, in November 2000, not even a year ago, in Brownsville, Texas. It says, the title is, "Have you heard of Saint Death? Don't pray to her." And it says they call her Santa Muerte, Holy Death or Saint Death, but she's no saint, literally. The skeletal female figure has a growing devotion in Mexico, Central America, and some places in the United States, but don't be fooled by the Mary-like veil or the holy-sounding name. She's not recognized as a saint by the Roman Catholic Church. In fact, in 2013, a Vatican official condemned devotion to her, equating it to the celebration and devastation and of hell.
Whoa.
Wow. It says it's not every day that a folk saint is actually condemned at the highest levels of the Vatican. It's also interesting, and I suppose because Catholicism was the main Christian sect back then, that Santeria and this, and even some voodoo sects involve Catholicism.
Yeah, Catholicism is actually one of the heavy influencers on voodoo. They worship saints.
So it's, that's really interesting to me. That they were like, we'll take a little piece of that, we'll take a little piece of this.
Right.
Can I tell you my voodoo story?
Okay.
Okay, so am I boring you, Dre?
No, I'm sorry. I don't normally work on Wednesdays because that was my old schedule, and now my old new schedule has me working longer hours, and so yeah, today took a toll on me.
Okay, so I've been to New Orleans several times, and I don't go to the voodoo shops, and even the ghost tours start out in front of one of the main voodoo shops in the French Quarter, and I don't go into it. I am a magnet for paranormal activity, and I just don't feel the need to bring it on. You know what I mean? Like, so as I'm talking about going on a ghost tour in New Orleans, okay. So I had taken Madison, your sister, with me to New Orleans on Halloween, and we went on a ghost tour, and I told her we weren't going to go into any voodoo shops, which she was so against going to a voodoo shop that she was like, at 15, my mother, and telling me, even if you want to, we're not. That's what she was saying. So I went and I took your moderator, Maya, and
my moderator, Maya.
she wanted to go to a voodoo store, and I said, no, we're not going to go to a voodoo store. Not going to do it. Not going to happen. Not doing it. And then we went on a cruise, and the cruise left and came back from New Orleans. Well, as I seem to do on cruises, I got sick. I always get sick on a cruise. I don't, it's breathing other people's air. I don't know what it is, but I always get like bronchitis from them. So we decided to stay the night in New Orleans, and we stayed at the hotel, the hotel that was the hospital. Provincial. Thank you, Jeremy. We stayed at the Hotel Provincial, and we stayed in Building 5. And as you know, I get salty if I don't get Building 5. So, and I was too sick to leave the hotel room or to care if anybody left me alone in the room, which was stupid. But your dad took Maya and Madison and Joshua, and they went out to go walk around, and they all, they did that. And for some reason, Madison did not know that Maya had asked her dad if they could go into a voodoo store.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, because I don't know. And so Madison completely missed this, okay? So they went into a voodoo store, and when Madison found out, she was furious. Now Maya, when she went in, it cured her of the curiosity of voodoo, because when she went in, somebody was buying a spell, and it wasn't a love charm. It was something. You can go into a back room where you can. Go ahead, Maya. Hold on. I want to say Maya is telling me what I'm going to repeat to you guys, so it's not dead air. I'm listening to Maya. Go ahead, Maya.
When I went in there, I saw like what is it, a ram? Is that what it is?
Yes, when Maya went into the shop, she saw a ram.
Saw like shrunken heads and stuff like that. It was definitely something that was like, it was super, super scary. But
she said it was very, very scary. Something you would see in a horror movie.
I've never gone into a building and felt the heaviness that I felt. Instantly became like super, super sad, and I felt almost sick.
There's no way, Jeremy, to get her on here live? Okay, Maya, go ahead. They can hear you. Tell your story.
As soon as I walked in, I saw like shrunken heads, and I saw a big ram on the wall with like a pentagram, and it was like a super small shop. So like it's like the very first thing that you see is all of these items and stuff like that. And I walked in, and it felt really warm, and I felt super heavy and really, I don't want to say depressed, but it was a very intense sadness I was feeling. And I ended up, I was like, okay, I don't want to be in here for that long. Like I've seen what I need to see. I felt what I needed to feel, and now I'm done. I'm leaving, and I don't think I'll ever actually go back into like a voodoo shop ever again.
That made you realize that there was an actual feeling connected with voodoo?
Well, I didn't know if I like really believed in voodoo. I was really interested in the idea of it. But I really wanted to go into a voodoo shop to see what it was like. And I wasn't going in there like, I was kind of going in there open-minded, but I wasn't going in there believing in it. But as soon as I went in there, it felt really, I guess, evil. And I don't know if it was the voodoo itself, or maybe it was like, I don't know, just the feeling that the whole building gave me. But I definitely kind of believe that there's something evil there in the whole idea of it.
Really?
Yeah, it kind of almost made me a believer, almost. Like, I don't know if like spells and stuff like that work, but there is something evil behind the idea of it.
Okay, well, like I said, everything is made out of energy. Beliefs give off energy. You can tell when a person is in a bad mood when they walk up to you, like you were yesterday, so salty.
Yeah, no, like the vibe of it. It was definitely an evil vibe. Like people's intentions in it were, it felt like there was bad intentions, sort of. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I do. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Now, do you remember that we went to a gas station, and I, again, was sick, and it was just me and you, and we were driving from New Orleans to Dallas, and I was very sick. But we went to a gas station, and you asked me if you could get a voodoo doll. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was before I had actually gone into a
yes.
Okay, yeah. I was like, okay, let's since I went to New Orleans, we didn't buy it in New Orleans, so it was, you know, like safer. And it was at a gas station, so it's like, what's the harm, right?
Well, and they sell them in like all the t-shirt shops, and this is for like they like do. These are supposed to be like not like real voodoo dolls, you know what I mean? But there's instructions on them on how to use it as a real voodoo doll, like to get somebody's hair and that type of thing, right? But because it was such a stereotypical sort of touristy thing, I guess I just was like, yeah, you can get one.
Yeah, like when you think of voodoo, you think of voodoo dolls. Like that's
yeah. But in the stores they have them like, here's one for love, here's one for work, you know, like that. But they do have ones that are like more kind of a sinister kind of a thing. But this one, the one you got up, I don't even know if it had, that we saw at the gas station, I don't even know if it had a like a purpose. It was just a voodoo doll, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, it wasn't even that scary. It just kind of like had like a weird mask on that was painted on there, and it was wearing like a purple dress sort of thing, but it had like a pouch over it so that if you wanted to put like a piece of hair in it or something. And then it came with 2 pins. So
yeah.
But when I went to go buy it, I don't think you were with me.
No, I was.
Well, you weren't with me. I went up.
Oh, go ahead.
I went up to go buy it, and the guy who was at the register refused to check me out.
Yeah.
He actually had to have someone else check me out. He walked away. He was like, no, I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, there's a real strong belief.
Yeah, so it's not, right there, it kind of makes it almost not touristy. It kind of makes it almost real for the people who live there.
Yeah, and we were nowhere near New Orleans. We were in Louisiana. But like I said, we were on our way home going towards Dallas. But yeah, that was kind of a realization to me on the actual levity of the situation of buying one. But my story was, how did your sister react when she found out that there had been one in our house?
We ended up having to tell her that we threw it out the window on the way home.
Yes, we did. She lost her shit. Yeah, she was like,
not happy about that.
Yeah, she was like, you know, a teenager. She's like, I'm moving out. You know, F you guys bringing that into my house. She totally turned into the mom. You're not bringing that into my house. Get out, or I'll get out. Somebody's getting out, and that doll's getting out. And so we lied to her and told her we threw it away, and then she saw it one day.
Yeah, she found it in the closet.
After we had moved into an entirely different home, she found it in the closet. She wasn't even living here at the time, and she lost her shit again. She's like, you lied to me. It was still in the house.
But it didn't hurt anybody, so.
Who knows? Maybe some of the stuff that happened to us was because of that doll in there.
It's still there.
What?
The doll's still in my closet.
Is?
Yeah.
Come over here right now. You forgot something when you left.
The little mask on it can come off, and like under it, I think it's like some kind of like cardboard or something, but it has indents for the eyes and the mouth, and it looks really scary, kind of like a skull.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's scarier without the little like cloth over the face. I'll have to show you next time I'm there.
Yes, please. I don't even think I've actually looked at it.
I'm sure if you wanted to, Josh could go get it down from my closet.
I'll wait for you.
Okay.
Jory, do you want it?
I actually took it back with me.
Yeah, it was.
It
was in the closet in my room where he was staying.
Oh,
yeah.
So aren't you glad you heard that now?
Well, I didn't know I had it until I opened up my bag when I was home, and I was like, "Oh, what's this?"
Josh?
And then
it got down and said, "Hey, I'm out of here."
No, it was like, "Hey, asshole, when's the poker game?" And I was like, "Wow, I don't even know who you are. So now he's been bumming in my guest room ever since, and he keeps bringing home all these strangers.
He keeps bringing home all these strangers, and
Yeah.
somehow they keep dying. It's so
And for
weird.
some reason, they don't leave the house. They just disappear.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, like, all my fucking Fruity Pebbles are gone.
Did you just say the F word?
Yeah, because he ate all my Fruity Pebbles.
Oh, well, yeah, that's worthy of it.
Yeah. I got
Yeah,
triggered.
it does.
Yeah.
So, Jory,
Mm-hmm.
what are your thoughts on witches?
It's weird because I don't necessarily believe in magic as it
Yeah, I don't either.
is. But I do appreciate the fact what some of the witchcraft culture has brought to us as a society in general. Like the way we celebrate Christmas now, the way we celebrate Halloween now,
Yeah.
the way we celebrate almost every holiday that we celebrate now
Yeah.
is because of well, I won't say witches, but people
Druid,
who are
pagan.
Druid, pagan, witchcraft types.
Yeah.
But I also kind of it's refreshing to know that everybody in this world is just looking for an answer, and this is what people believe is the answer to their questions, and I think it just brings a uniqueness to our world that already obviously has enough uniqueness already, but it creates situations that are just fun to be a part of. Like when you go to New Orleans and you're in the United States, but you go to New Orleans and you're like, this doesn't feel like the United States. This is a whole new being, and it just is a different vibe and a different people. And so I think witchcraft, even though it's downplayed a lot by Christianity and other religions, I think it plays a very important role in human history as far as shaping us into the people we are today. Like you said, the superstition of when an eyelash falls out, blowing it, making a wish, just little things like that. We don't think about it, or throwing salt over the shoulder. We don't think about those things, but that's where it comes from. So as far as magic goes, I'll let the people who listen to the podcast decide whether or not they want to believe in it. I don't. But I think as far as it's contributed to us as a people and through our history, I hold an appreciation for it.
Yeah, I do too. That's really interesting that you said that, because really, a lot of our daily lives have been affected by something that ancient.
Mm-hmm.
That's so strange.
The fact that we sit around a Christmas tree and open presents, and we hang the mistletoe, and we sing, we have the Yule log. This is stuff that predates, like you said, it predates Christ by thousands of years.
Yeah.
And we still do it. And this is all translated to us orally. It was never historically documented. So through oral tradition for thousands and thousands of years, with the few tweaks and twists, we have pretty much done the same thing every year for thousands and thousands of years.
That's crazy. And there's no written documentation of Christmas or Easter or Halloween or any of those celebrations in the Bible, because it wasn't. We assigned like what's the word I'm looking for? What's the Friday? Oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. The Friday before
Good Friday.
Good Friday. We assigned the Good Friday and Easter to just we didn't, but early Christianity did, to correlate with the pagan tradition of the spring solstice, which, by the way, for the record, involved chicks and bunnies.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the chicks and the bunnies came from.
Yep.
It was new life. That was the point of that. So here we have all these activities that we do and don't think twice about it. And there are some Christian religions, such as I can't believe Jehovah's Witnesses, who don't celebrate those holidays because they're not in the Bible. And you're right, they're not. They were assigned to take away from the pagans to have, hey, we have fun. And so it's very interesting. And people who don't celebrate Halloween because it's a pagan holiday, well, you really need to become educated on all of your holidays because they all are.
And here's the funny thing about Christians who won't celebrate Halloween because it's a pagan holiday.
And can I just say, I want to clarify here, I am a Christian. I'm not in any way, shape, or form dogging Christianity. I would not do that by in any way. And Rob is a strict Catholic. I'm simply stating historical fact. So don't be commenting to me.
The version of Halloween that we celebrate today was actually molded by the Christian religion to make it another thing that they could take away from the Druids and bring people to Christianity. Because like you said, they celebrated Samhain, which is virtually Halloween, but Christianity took it and turned it slowly into what we do today. It's not, I still wouldn't probably call it a Christian holiday.
No, it actually was. It actually was. When I did the video about it, Christians actually did mold it into what they used to do is go from house to house singing hymns.
Mm-hmm.
They changed it to you would sing hymns at somebody's house.
Yeah.
And so the point of going house to house came from the Christian religion,
right.
And it evolved into getting the candy.
Right.
They would, at the time, when you went to somebody's house, they would give you like bread or something for singing to them or telling them or reading them a story from the Bible. They would give you bread or whatever, and it evolved into the candy. So it's interesting to me that it's come full circle around to we can't celebrate Halloween because it's a pagan holiday. When it started out that way, but the Halloween you won't celebrate right now was created by Christians.
It was created by Christians. It was molded by them. It's what we celebrate today is a combination of two different religions.
Yeah.
And if you still don't want to celebrate Halloween, that's your decision. But I don't think there needs to be a fear of celebrating it when you're not afraid to celebrate Christmas, and it's kind of the same. Well, Christmas is obviously different than Halloween, but it's built under the same principles of what Halloween and Easter are built on. It's a combination of two ideas into one over years and years and years and years.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
they're just as pagan based as Halloween is, and they're just as Christian as Halloween turned into. So no need to fear Halloween. It's okay. Also, this is something that really irritates me is when Christian churches will not celebrate Halloween, but they will have a harvest festival on that same day where you dress up in a costume and you get candy. People, nobody is falling for that.
You know what's funny to me is when they
I don't care what you call it. It's Halloween.
When they change the wording from Halloween to Fall Harvest.
That makes it more pagan.
That's more pagan than the word Halloween because the whole point of celebrating Samhain was the fall harvest.
Exactly.
So you're only paganizing. You're only more paganizing a holiday by calling it a fall harvest. And Hallmark Channel, which is your favorite channel, my wife's favorite channel, they don't do Halloween movies. They do fall harvest movies. And every time they do that, I'm like, you're paganizing it even more than what it was if you were just to call it Halloween. Like,
Right.
Halloween is actually more Christian than a fall harvest.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So I just, live the life, live your life the way you want to live, but we also like to state facts, and it's just funny to me
Yes.
how hypocritical we can be on some things.
Yes. These are facts. These are not opinions. Your opinions don't get to be facts, but these are actual facts. And maybe it'll help you. Like, if you're somebody who doesn't celebrate Halloween and you just learned this, maybe that will help you make your decisions from going on. That in reality, it's not what you're being told.
And if you're a person that doesn't celebrate Halloween because of religious upbringing, even if you take out the whole paganism thing, and if you think it's linked to Satan or whatever, as a Christian, it would, to me, feel like you should open your door and be warm to these people regardless, because as a Christian, you're supposed to be warm to your neighbors and inviting and accepting of them as who they are.
Yeah.
So if
But
they're
then
coming
also,
up to your
please
house,
don't go to a harvest festival. Please do not tell me you don't celebrate Halloween because it's a pagan festival and then go to your church's harvest festival. It doesn't fool anybody.
yeah,
It's Halloween. You're celebrating Halloween. That's
right.
Come on, people.
Mm-hmm.
And B, yeah, you can still be part of your community and pass out candy. You don't have to have your kids go trick or treating.
I would have liked to have been a part of the church congregation that was like, how do we get people to come to our Halloween party, but not label it Halloween because that's Satan's holiday?
Yeah,
What
we'll
if
call
we
it
called
harvest.
what if we called it fall harvest, and they can just do the same things you do for Halloween? Oh my God.
Yeah, they can wear a costume. They can bob for apples. They can get candy. That's brilliant. Yeah, it's really weird because it's like, why did I think of that? Well, those pagans did. It's funny because my family, as I have said on here 100 times, was extremely religious. And my grandparents, as I've said a million times, founded a very, very, very common church. And we celebrated Halloween. And I always grew up. I always grew up thinking, well, if we can celebrate Halloween, anybody can, because we can't wear jeans. My mom couldn't wear jeans. She had to wear dresses. She couldn't wear lipstick. She couldn't swim in a pool with boys. But we were celebrating Halloween. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to movies. I wasn't supposed to be allowed to go to school dances, things like that. So, but we celebrated Halloween. So it's like, okay, my parents got it. My grandparents got the history.
Right.
So anyway, I think you have a story to tell about some witch sisters, though, don't you?
Yeah, so as a part of my research for looking at different cultures that celebrate, practice witchcraft, I came across this set of three sisters that were based out of New England. And they are famous because they were kidnapping children. And this was probably, I think, in the late 1700s. They were kidnapping children and killing them and supposedly using a potion to suck their life force into them and making themselves younger. And the day they got caught, they were brought outside of their home. A gallows was erected on their property, and as they were getting ready to be hung, one of the captors had their witch book, or their spell book, and dropped it, covering his ears from them. They were singing a very horrible song. And when the book dropped, it opened up to a page that allowed one of the sisters to create a curse that said, pretty much one day we'll be back. And then they were hung. Well, legend states that if you light a candle that's still on their property called the Black Flame Candle and you're a virgin, you can bring these witches back, but supposedly it's very difficult to because the black cat has been said to protect this property from anybody who would try to light that candle and bring the witches back to life.
Wait a minute.
Right.
Wait a minute. This sounds very familiar. Are these the Sanderson sisters?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's the Sanderson sisters.
Is this from that documentary, Hocus Pocus?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a documentary, Hocus Pocus?
Yeah, I think that's actually a movie.
Is it?
Was
Bette Midler in it? We got you. Got you.
Yeah.
Good job, Jory. Good job.
And waiting for you.
Yeah, that's good. I love you. Okay, well, I know you need to be this to be short, so can I just run through a couple of famous witches really fast?
You got a couple minutes left.
Okay, I'll just do a couple of famous witches, and then we will wrap it up, okay?
All right.
Famous witches throughout history. Morgan Le Fay, who was the evil nemesis to King Arthur of Camelot. Morgan Le Fay's existence cannot be proven. Those who believe in King Arthur's legend believe in her existence, though, as well as Merlin. I wish. She is famous because of her direct association with the Isle of Avalon and with England's ancient pagans, the Druids. There you go. Anne Boleyn. This is actually one that surprised me. Anne Boleyn was the second wife of the infamous King Henry VIII of England in the 16th century. There are many scholars who say that Anne Boleyn was a witch. But if we are talking about whether Anne Boleyn was a witch because of her wisdom, then I have to disagree. Because throughout her years as Queen of England, Anne Boleyn became a very educated, extremely intelligent woman in the country of England, despite the rumors and her later accusations of treason, adultery, incest. What?
What?
How? I can't even read about Anne Boleyn without going crazy. And eventually witchcraft, which led to her beheading. Let's see. I'm going to skip some of these. Marie Laveau. The most famous voodoo queen of all time is Marie Laveau. Marie was born a free black woman in New Orleans in the mid-1700s and became the most well-known voodoo priestess in 18th and 19th. Oh my God, how long did she live? Century Louisiana. White and black folks alike would come to Marie Laveau for ailments in the areas of health and love. It is said that Marie Laveau was a devout Catholic and would attend Mass religiously. However, she was also an advocate for voodoo, believing in practicing in voodoo with the aid of the Laos and well-versed in the arts of intuition and seership. You know what? One thing we didn't do is go to Marie Laveau's grave. We should have done that. Her
Yeah.
grave in New Orleans in the St. Louis Cemetery #1 gets more visitors on Halloween than Elvis Presley's grave, like ever, throughout the year. Is that not crazy? By the way, I've been to Elvis Presley's grave. That's interesting. Okay, let's see. There's like Sybil Leek was taught the ways of witchcraft from a young age and was around during Gerald Gardner's time. She's one of the most famous witches in modern history and has written about 60 well-known pagan and occult books such as Diary of a Witch, which sounds so funny. That sounds like a Hallmark Channel movie. Diary of a Witch.
Right.
Sybil Leek's Book of Herbs and Star Speak, Your Body Language from the Stars. Let's see. Laurie Cabot, who is the official witch of Salem and the most famous witch alive today. She is also an author and a wise woman, owns her own witchcraft shop in Salem, and even records videos on her own YouTube channel, as do I. Go ahead over there. There's a link. Yeah, I know. Anyway, one more. I have to do this one. Silver Ravenwolf. Like I said to you in the production meeting, someone tells me that's not her real name.
Right.
Another famous witch that is alive today is Silver Ravenwolf. She is also an author on books on witchcraft, and her name is very well known among Wiccans and witches all over the world. She has a background in powwow magic, which I can honestly say I don't know what that means, from an ancestral lineage, and is also well versed in different traditions of Wicca. You can find her books on Amazon and read more about her on the internet. She is a witch that you will not want to pass up. Okay, well, she's got a YouTube channel. I do as well.
What?
I have a YouTube channel too. Go to mine first.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to talk about, Jory?
No. I can't think of anything else, at least not at the time.
Okay. Is there anything else, Maya or Jeremy, that you would like to add? Oh, we're good. Okay. Is there any questions? Anything you need to know? Oh, if you are going to post questions, I'm going to talk for a minute. So, if you are listening to this on YouTube, if you like my content, please subscribe. Also, like this video by giving it a thumbs up and click that bell so that you can be notified of future podcasts, and every time my new content goes up. YouTube will not notify you sometimes if your creator's content goes up, so you have to make sure you click that bell. Also, I have been deemed unworthy of being monetized by the powers that be at the evil YouTube empire. So if you feel like supporting my content, there's going to be a Patreon link. Whoop, right down there. And that money will go towards merchandise that we can give away, that you can purchase, and helps support my channel. And you can also subscribe to me on Twitch if you feel the need to do that. Is that it, Jory?
I think you touched on it, yeah.
All right. I want to thank everybody who comes and listens to my videos and enjoys my content and who supports us. Next week we'll not have a podcast, just a reminder, but there will be something up on Wednesday, and it's going to be about UFOs. And then we will start our 5-week podcast special on 9/11 conspiracy theories, starting with producer Jeremy's segment. And it'll have Jeremy, me, of course, Rob, and Jory. And that is going to be a lot of fun, I think, having all 4 of us on there. That's a lot of different opinions and a lot of different views. And I think that's really good, too, because we're going to have, let's say, my view from being an adult, watching it happen live and in person, and Jory's view having been a teenager and his view of what happened, Rob's view from the States, the UK, having, seen it. What, Jory?
I was gonna say, is Rob fake? Rob's
Yeah.
fake English?
Yeah, no. It's from the UK, so that'll be an interesting view, because if you believe the conspiracy theories, they knew about it before we did. And then Jeremy, who was a younger teen than Jory at the time, so we'll get to hear it from his point of view too. And I believe this is the biggest historical event in my lifetime that I have ever seen and may ever see, and you guys too. So I think that we have a bunch of different opinions, a bunch of different views, and I'm really excited to do this. Are you ready to say goodnight, Jor?
Yeah. Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening in. Thanks for putting up with my shenanigans on this evening. I appreciate it.
Well, that's why they come here. They come here for you.
For my shenanigans.
Yes. Yeah. Jory and I are going to do a drunk Halloween history podcast. See how that goes.
Do some shots before we start, and then just drink as we continue on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see how long we stay on topic. We didn't even get a minute into today's podcast before we went off topic. So, Jory, I got a comment last week that somebody was mad at me because they went to last week's podcast on YouTube to hear about fairy tales, and Rob and I had gone off topic, and we were talking about Big Brother and the Kardashians. I don't know how that works, but they left me a mean comment about it, saying they came here to listen to fairy tales, not reality TV. So, for you guys who are wondering, I'm not doing a documentary, and I'm not a lecturer, as you can clearly tell. So, I don't think you should come to me as your cheat sheet for your school assignments. I'm just saying.
Well, I don't think you should go to any podcast and expect the topic to be what's talked about the entire podcast. Like,
right.
It's a conversation, so it's gonna veer off the beaten path a couple times.
That's right, and that's why that is something I have to say that I really enjoy about the fact that you and Rob are my guest hosts, because we have similar sense of humor, and I want my podcast to feel like you guys are sitting in my living room and hearing a conversation that I would really have in my living room. And I think we do that for sure. For sure. Because there are sometimes I get off and go, oh my God, why did I just say that? All right, you guys. Thank you. And I love you, Jor. Thank you, Maya. I love you too. Thank you, Jeremy. I love you too. And good night. Say good night, Jory.
Oh, good night. And I love all of you.
Bye.